All right, music fans, welcome back to the Real Music Observer. My name is Dave, of course, just observing real music in real time for real people, just like, that guy there and this guy here. Roadcase Royale. It's a new band formed by Heart guitar player Nancy Wilson and a whole bunch of other folks. Liv Warfield, who used to sing for Prince and the New Power Generation, is more or less the lead vocalist, with Nancy sharing some vocal duties as she did in Heart. They've got a new album coming out. They've got a couple of songs out, one called Get Loud and another one called Not Giving Up. Neither song really does it for me. I've listened to them several times, and I don't really like it. And I don't know how else to tell you about it. What I'm more concerned about is Nancy really going off on her own here and digging her heels in, literally. To me, is more or less indicative that the band Heart is in some serious long-term trouble. Now, if you remember, I did a video a while back, and it was a very popular video where I discussed the domestic issues between Ann and Nancy Wilson. And Ann Wilson has more or less continued on her merry way, doing a tour, a solo tour, playing a ton of Heart music and doing a lot of cover tunes, because apparently people like to hear her do other people's songs. I know she did a bang-up job doing Led Zeppelin's Stairway to Heaven when they honored them a few years back, and that was a real big deal. The Kennedy Honors, I believe it was, and that video went crazy viral. Showed Robert Plant getting all emotional watching her perform Stairway. I mean, Heart always had a penchant for Zeppelin, and that's why this project by Nancy Wilson, to me, is just a huge departure from anything remotely Heart sounding. And maybe that was the intention, maybe that was her idea. Let's just get the hell away from sounding like Heart, although they do perform Heart songs. So people aren't going to show up to hear the person who sang a lot less than the lead vocalist of the group perform songs they've never heard of before. Nancy is a decent vocalist, but she's not Ann. And Ann, of course, isn't really a guitar player, although I know she can play acoustic. One thing for certain is the two of them apart are not better than the two of them together. And if you take a look at this issue in detail, you find out that Ann Wilson on this one, I believe, really messed up. Her husband more or less tried to beat up kids who belonged to Nancy. And, it's a long story. You can go read it. You can go watch my other video. But Ann, rather than being kind of sorry and repentant, more or less apologized for this guy and said, well, people don't understand him. This is the way he is. He can get angry, but he's really a smart, intelligent, decent man, and it's blah, blah, blah. But on the actual issue itself, I believe Nancy has every right to isolate herself from that situation, because, Ann dug in and said, my husband's not going anywhere, and, Nancy more or less said, well, if that's the case, then we're through for a while. And so that's what's happened with the band Heart. And what's odd is Ann, who lost quite a bit of weight, by the way, and is looking very good on stage when she's performing. People for years gave her crap about her weight, and she ends up losing the weight and going out on tour. I think she was sort of in the process of losing the weight when Heart was still together. So these are two very strong-willed individuals. I'm not impressed at all with the Nancy Wilson stuff that she's doing. I think she's way out of her element. And although musically speaking, I can say the music itself that she's performing, it's executed fairly well, but we're too used to heart. We're just way too used to hearing Heart, and at this stage in their careers, it's difficult to kind of pull the plug and do something completely new and different, especially when you're really not the one who carried the banner of the group. Although, again, Nancy Wilson, no slouch on guitar, one of the better female guitar players ever. But Ann Wilson, she made my list, my top 10 list of vocalists for a reason. Battling out with men like Steve Perry and Lou Gramm and Jimmy Jameson and so forth. And she easily in the top 10. My other female vocalist of choice was Pat Benatar. And Pat scored slightly higher than Ann. But Ann is just a force. She's a force of nature, and she is, even at her age, she is just still singing sweet and loud and powerful, and that's what's great about Ann Wilson. But, again, the turmoil goes back to this whole domestic issue where neither side is budging. So it means Nancy digs in with her new project. I'm thinking maybe by next year, when, Nancy gets tired of playing smaller clubs and realizes that she needs her sister, and maybe her sister will come forth with a little bit more of an apology and a reprimand for this man who seems like he probably needs to get some help. I mean, seriously, you're beating up kids over letting the dogs out. I mean, I'm not making this up. This isn't a rap song. I mean, who let the dogs out? The kids let the dogs out, and this dude more or less tried to choke one of the kids to death. So there you go. It might be time to say goodbye to Heart. I'm not sure. Or it may just, like the old expression is, sometimes time will heal all wounds. We will know, but we won't know soon. For the Real Music Observer, I'm Dave, and we'll talk again very soon. Talk to you then.